Kimmerer. I'm a professor of botany at the College of Environmental Science and Forestry, a writer, and a very happy participant in this wonderful gathering.
So Robin, what do you suppose you may take away from this encounter with the mountain and these people that will inform what you do back home?
A wealth of things that I have yet to sort out. There's a way in which I'm very sad to leave, but I also want that quiet time on the airplane to process exactly those things, to go through all these tremendously powerful images, all these little snippets of conversation that I've had. So I don't know yet, and I think there will be ripples that come from it. But if I could choose one image, and I tend to think in these sort of little keystone images that will inform what I do and what I write about after this, is yesterday when we were walking to the overlook of the crater along this cliff on a single tree, which was this big blasted skeleton. I think it was an old red cedar. You could see where the scar tissue on the tree had kind of curved around and made a little basin in the trunk of this old skeleton. There was this clump of moss that I recognize as an old friend from old growth forests. And there it was in this little triangular basin in this tree. There's no way that it could have colonized afresh. It was a survivor. And a particularly wonderful moment is when I saw it and recognized this moss. I just had to go touch it and be with it, and Libby Roderick was there, and she said, I think you're seeing something different than I'm seeing. And it was a wonderful moment, because that's one of the beauties of doing these gatherings, is we all see through different eyes. And what I told Libby, which was so wonderful about seeing that one moss, was that it was a survivor, and then I began to understand this whole idea of biological legacies, that there are little safe, protected places where a moss that once had been in these magnificent forests that were here 25 years ago is left over. Somehow it survived. It survived by the tree protecting it. And the tree was still there because the hill protected it. And I just loved that idea of these layers of protection that enabled this beautiful being to persist. And last night at the campfire, when Scott was talking so eloquently about the wounded world, the world at war, the world that has so much hurt in it, it occurred to me that that little moss, which meant so much to me, was kind of an icon of all of these other little refuges in the world, of little microsites of survivors who are there ready to recolonize and to bring the world back to life. So it was both a wonderful ecological moment, and in the broader context, it seemed to me to be an important metaphor for what you can learn from this landscape, which is both created by destruction and creation at the same time. So that, I think, would be the one little kernel that I will use as a springboard for thinking about other things.
You're one of those rare folks that actually combines the science and humanities in your work directly.
Mm-hmm.
This ongoing effort to bring those together, you see real value in that?
Tremendous value. Again, if you just listen to all the little snippets of conversation that we're all having, I think we are learning to see the world differently. And a gathering like this can both, I think, open up people's eyes to other perspectives, try to integrate those things for sure at one level. But for me, it also gives me strength to do that. Because in a world where we're asked to be one thing, to think this way, to think that way, that's often true in kind of the stereotypic monolith of science. We have here amazing scientists like Jerry Franklin, who are not only a wonderful scientist, but a policy, someone who's influenced policy, who's really been swimming upstream as an advocate for forests. You see that there are lots of ways to be a scientist. There are lots of ways to be a writer. So to me, it's inspiring to keep doing that kind of work, to cross those bridges. yeah.
You used the word gathering and made me think of the title of one of your books.
Yeah.
This is a gathering of mossback, I don't know. Mossy minds.
It is a gathering, and you know, somebody else used the word gathering in our talk yesterday as we were sitting in the ash forest. We were in this wonderful quiet refuge of trees, and we were talking about reciprocity and what do we do with the gifts that the world gives us? How do we give back to that? And someone, I regret, I don't remember who it was, maybe John, was talking about reciprocity as what the salmon do as gatherers. They go into the ocean and gather the nutrients from the sea and then bring them back as a gift to the stream that they live in, and to the bears and to the forest and so forth. And I just love that image of that's our work in the world, is to go out and gather that good stuff and bring it to places that it's needed.
So this recovery process, it's a gathering as well, isn't it? A gathering of nutrients and richness and organic matter. And
yeah.
seeds and
Yeah. Not only a gathering. When I think about a gathering, I think things coming in, you know, from outside. And that was one of the things that I learned and fascinated me here, that so much of the recovery wasn't things floating in from outside. That was an important element for sure, but it was this upwelling of life that was still below the ash. Gary Brash's photo last night of the bracken fern just coming up out of that ashy crust was wonderful to me. And then this morning at breakfast time, we were talking to Scott, and he mentioned this old Quaker song, How Can I Keep from Singing? And it occurred to me that's what it felt like that bracken fern was singing. You know, here's this devastated landscape, and yet, you know, how can I keep from singing? I've just got to punch up through that ash and live.